Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you are new. My name is Kai, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into today's video. So today we are going to be doing some eclectic minimalist nails. In this video, it's just going to have some very chill vibes. I'm not going to be doing too much today. So yeah, let's go ahead and get straight into that. The first thing that I'm going to do, as always, is just go ahead and prep my nails. And the first step in all that is making sure that my implements are nice and cleansed. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just clean off all of my tools with some alcohol. I do like to clean my tools beforehand and fully sterilize them using some barbicide, but this is an extra step that I like to take just to be absolutely safe. And of course, I'm going to be doing the same thing to my nails, just cleaning the surface using a little bit of alcohol as well. Now, once that's all said, we are going to go ahead and get straight into it. I always like to go in with a cuticle remover first, just to soften the skin around the nails. It just makes the pushing back process a little bit easier and not as strenuous on my nails. And once that's set in for about 5 to 10 seconds, I'm going to go in with my cuticle pusher and just gently push things back. Here, I'm going to be focusing on removing the cuticle from the nail plate and pushing back the proximal nail fold. Next, I'm going to be going in with my cuticle nippers, and I'm going to be using this time to slightly cut back the proximal nail fold. I'm only going to be cutting back anything that is a little bit crusty and a little bit ashy. So this step is pretty minimal and is definitely not necessary. So if you aren't comfortable doing this, you definitely do not have to. I personally like to do it for safety and for aesthetic reasons. During this process, you only want to cut what is absolutely necessary. You don't want to go overboard and start cutting your actual skin, because that can lead to infections and bacteria transfer, and of course, pain and inflammation. So definitely make sure to be as careful as possible. And just to clean things up a bit, I'm going to be shaping up the free edge using my glass nail file. So now that the surface of my nails is pretty much free of any cuticle and dead skin, I'm going to go in with my peel off base coat, which consists of a little bit of cuticle oil, and my 𝘋𝘰 peel it off base coat. And for reference, I'm going to be doing this in about 2 layers just to make sure that my nails are absolutely protected. So now it's time to size out these nail tips, and for today I'm going to be doing some long almond nails, and just to make things a little bit more convenient, I'm going to be using these almond nail tips. after sizing out all of these nail tips, it's time to cure them on. And for me personally, I like to use my portable UV lamp and a little bit of base coat just to help me get these on. If you are doing these nails to last and you don't have a peel off base coat on, I would recommend using a regular nail glue instead, but because I am working on a pretty smooth and shiny surface, nail glue doesn't really like to stick to it, so base coat is a pretty good alternative. So for the most part, these nails are pretty much the length that I want them to be, but the thumbnail is a little bit too long, so I'm going to cut them down using some straight edge nail clippers. And I'm also going to take this time to just fix the almond shape a little bit and try my best to make it match with the rest of the nails. And that is going to conclude all of the prep work for today. So we are now on to today's application, and for today it's going to be fairly simple. I'm only going to be using some clear and some nude acrylic powders. For today, the majority of my nails are going to be nude. The only ones that aren't going to be nude are my middle finger and my pinky nail, but realistically this can be an entirely nude process. You don't have to use the clear. I just decided to use clear because I'm not going to be able to see the base of these two nails, and I really don't like to waste nude if I don't have to. Now, as you can see, when I am doing my acrylic application, I do like to keep it fairly simple. I try and strive for about 3 to 4 beads per nail, but as I usually say, you don't want to be too strict with that mindset. You can always go in with more beads or less beads if you feel like that's necessary. Sometimes we'll have issues with the structure not being perfectly correct, so I will go in with smaller beads here and there just to make sure that things are structurally sound. And overall, this process can usually take me anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes, depending on the length of the nail and the temperature in my room. The temperature in my room was pretty cool, so I didn't have to worry about my product setting too quickly, but that can definitely play a major role in the setting time. But overall, this is not a process that you want to rush through because it definitely requires a lot of patience and practice. So even though it can take me about 10 to 15 minutes for my application, it is absolutely okay if it takes you a lot longer because your structure is one of the most important things when it comes to doing nails, and that's something that you need to really take your time with. And that is all that I'm going to mention for this section. I'm going to go ahead and finish up this application, and of course we will be back to shape and file these nails. Okay, so the application is done, and now we're going to go ahead and shape up these nails. Now, when I am working with almond nails, I try and keep the shaping process as simple as possible. So for the majority of the process, I do like to stick with a carbide bit for the entire surface of the nail. I like to work in a right to left motion to go ahead and correct the apex and the curvature of the nails. And I also like to go in with the same bit and seal my cuticles and correct my apex as well. This is not a process that you have to do with a carbide bit. If you are working with gel, you could always use a ceramic bit. And if you don't feel comfortable with such sharp bits, you can always go with a sanding band as well. I personally like to use carbide and ceramic bits when I am trying to avoid having to buff these nails, because despite them being quite rigid, they do have a very, very nice smoothing effect, which just provides me with an extra bit of convenience and time saving. But again, you don't have to use these. You can always go in with a sanding band and just buff the nails directly afterwards. Now, once the surface is nice and smooth and corrected, I'm going to go back in with my nail file, and I'm going to use this time to correct the almond shape. Now, because these nails were already pre-shaped, I don't really have too much to do here. I am just going to be correcting anything that got a little bit misshapen during the acrylic process, but for the most part, that is all that I'm going to be doing. So now we're on to the nail art, and this nail set is actually inspired by one nail that I've been seeing for months and months. It is this French tip nail with a tiger pattern and a 3D flower on top. And again, I've been seeing this nail for so long, and I really wanted to do a nail set with this. So yeah, that is what we're going to be doing. As always, the first thing that I like to do is just mix out all of my colors. Now to get us started, I'm going to be getting rid of all of the dust on the surface of these nails using, of course, some alcohol. Now, this nail set, in my opinion, is pretty simple, at least in terms of what I'm used to. And so in this video, I will be trying to work on all 5 of the nails at the same time. For some reason, I do like to focus on one nail at a time for more difficult nail sets, but this one isn't too bad. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get the base colors on. So for my pointer finger, my ring finger, and my thumbnail, I'm going to be doing a cream colored French tip. And this French tip isn't super deep or V-cut. It's going to be pretty straight across. And I'm actually going to be following the C curve of my natural nails just to make the process a lot less complicated. So now that those French tips are done, I'm going to jump to my middle finger really quickly, and I'm going to be painting this nail in the light mint green in about 2 layers as well. Now, because we are going to be doing a dark green outline, I'm not focusing too much on making sure that this green is getting all the way towards the cuticle and all up in the crevices, because genuinely it's not going to be necessary. You're not going to see it anyway, so this layer doesn't have to be exactly perfect. And similarly to what I did on my middle finger, I'm going to paint the entirety of my pinky using this orange amber color. Now, this gel polish is actually from Shein, and I actually got it just because I was curious to see what the quality would be like, because I've never used a gel polish from Shein, but I actually really like it, so I will make sure to have it listed down below in case you are looking for an amber. I also just want to disclaim that any of the links that you see down below are not affiliate links. I don't earn anything or any type of commission. I just like to provide the link because I feel like it's kind of difficult to find similar products on Shein if you don't have a good link. So yeah, not affiliated. I just really like this color. So this nail is going to have the tortoise print, so I did go in with a single layer of blooming gel. And then I followed that up with a very, very dark brown, and I'm going to spot that on there using a dotting tool. Now the brown was a little bit too light, so I am going in with a second layer of just regular black. And of course I am starting out by doing a layer of blooming gel, and then I'm going to go directly on top of that with the black. And for a little bit of detail, I did go in between those black spots using the same cream that I used for the French tips. I just wanted the inner bits to kind of stand out a little bit more, and I didn't do this everywhere. I just did it to a few select areas until I was satisfied with how it looked. And to finish off this nail, I'm going to go in with a single layer of top coat. So now we're going to finish off the last bits of gel polish, and to start out, I'm going to be doing some airbrushing on my pointer and my middle finger. Now we're first going to start out with the airbrush on the middle finger, and this is going to be a dark green, and so I'm going to be using my Savaland gel paints to help me do this, and I just mix a little bit of green and black to get the desired color. And this is pretty straightforward. I'm going to go directly in the center of this nail using that dark green. I'm trying my best not to get the dark green over the entirety of the surface because I want that light green to still stand out even after I do the dark green outline. So I'm not going to go too crazy with the aura effect in the center. And likewise, I'm going to be doing some airbrushing on my pointer finger, except this one is going to be more centered towards the French tip area, and I'm going to be using a mix of some orange and some brown to help me get the desired umber color. And as always, before I cure, I do like to wipe down the sides with a little bit of alcohol, just to make sure that that gel isn't getting cured onto my skin. And after that airbrushing is done, we can now get onto the dark green outline. This is very, very straightforward. I'm going to take a very long line art brush to help me do this, and I'm going to be using a mix of that dark green that I showed earlier and a little bit of black to help me do this outline. Now here is where you really want to close in the gaps by the cuticle area. So again, if you do end up recreating this nail set, you don't have to go all the way to the cuticle area with the light green because it's going to be covered up anyways. And just for that extra stability, I really do want to emphasize using a very long line art brush for this step, even though a long line art brush does make this process a lot easier. Because this is such a tedious type of nail art, you want to make sure to take your time and to try your best to get those lines as even as possible. Now to finish off the line art on the pointer finger, I'm going to be going in with some tiger stripes using this very, very dark brown. Because this is animal print, I'm not focusing on making it super perfect, and I did just go ahead and embrace the imperfections as they came, so that's not something to worry about with this nail. So now we're going to get into some of the 3D work using this rhinestone glue. And the first thing I'm going to do is create some 3D swirls on this ring finger. There's going to be 3 swirls on the left side of the nail and 1 swirl on the right. And as a last minute thought, I did decide to go in with some gold beads for a little extra detail. Now I'm also going to take some of that rhinestone glue and I'm going to be creating some drops on this middle finger. I only went in with 3 little dots because I wanted it to be kind of subtle and not too in your face and overwhelming, so I kept it pretty minimal. Now because these 2 nails are finished, I'm going to go in with a single layer of top coat. And of course, I'm going to cure that for a full 60 seconds. So now we're finally going to get into the 3D flower on this pointer nail, and I'm going to be using some pink sculpting gel that I got from Shein. And again, I will make sure to have this in my description box for anyone who's looking for this. I love these sculpting clays. They are very inexpensive, and for the price, they work pretty well. It just saves me a lot of time from having to actually paint on the color because they're already colored. So yeah, I really do like these. Now for this flower, I'm going to be doing 4 petals, which I've never actually done a 4-petaled flower. And again, I was really inspired by the reference photos that I saw, so I wanted to give it a try. Fairly simple process. I'm just going to be taking a little ball of these clays and I'm going to flatten them out into the shape of a petal. And in between each petal, I do like to cure for maybe like 10 or 15 seconds just to make sure that they're not going anywhere and moving around. Now this flower does have 4 petals, but there is a circular piece in the center, so I wanted to replicate that as best as I could. It's not that great, but I tried. And in order to make it open up in the center, I did just use the pointy end of my silicone tool and just kind of poke it until it was open enough, I guess. And for the most part, that completes the 3D pieces for this flower. Now to give it some definition and detail, I'm going to go in the center using that same cream color, and I'm going to try my best to feather it out using a brush and just make sure that it looks as seamless as possible. And for the very edges of this nail, I'm going to go in with a purple, and I didn't show this purple earlier because I wasn't planning on using this, but I did end up using this purple, and I also mixed in a little bit of brown for a deeper effect, and I'm really going to be focusing that towards the very tips of these flower petals. And I'm also going to take that same color and I'm going to do a couple of dots towards the center of the petals. And now that the flower is done, I'm going to go in with a single layer of top coat just to finish off this one nail. And just to make sure that the flower doesn't actually fall off, I'm really making sure to wrap this flower in that top coat and just really lock it in place. So the last nail that we're going to focus on is the thumbnail, and this one is very interesting because I like it, but I also don't like it. And the reason for that is because I feel like it's a little bit plain and just doesn't really go as well with the nail set as I was hoping it would. But anyways, we are going to be doing some pomegranate seeds on this nail. I'm going to be using this solid nail glue gel from 𝘋𝘰, and I'm going to shape it into a ball shape and kind of taper off one of the edges to create that seed-like effect. And after I've got the seeds on there, I'm going to go in with some red and a little bit of that purple from earlier. And I'm going to get that color onto the largest part of the seed, making sure to blend it out and fade it so that it has a nice gradient from the clear to the red. And to finish off this nail, I'm going in with some rhinestone glue to create some drops of water. Again, keeping it fairly simple, not doing too many because I don't want to distract from the pomegranate seeds. And that is pretty much this nail done, so I'm going to finish it off with a single layer of top coat. Okay, so these nails are done and here's what they are all looking like together. I also went ahead and put on a couple of rings because I just feel like it makes the nail set come together. And to finish off this nail set, I'm going to go in with a little bit of cuticle oil. that completes today's set. I really do hope you guys enjoyed this one. These nails definitely match the overall vibe that I wanted to go for with this video. Very simple, minimalistic, and relaxing, and I really do enjoy how these nails turned out. I like how even though they are very minimalist, they also have a lot of different ideas that I put together. Even though I do like this nail set, I will say that this is definitely one of those sets where you have to do a second hand, simply because I feel like on their own, they don't really give me that wow factor that I'm usually looking for. But yeah, overall, I really do like them. And if I were to put them on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give these an 8.5 out of 10. I really do love my 4 nails, the pointer finger, middle finger, ring, and the pinky, but I do think that the thumbnail is a little bit strange, which again, I feel like it might come together if you did your other hand as well. But overall, I really do like this nail set. It's a little bit different from my own personal tastes, but I love the minimalist vibe. My favorite nail is definitely the flower nail. I've never done a flower like this before where it only has 4 petals, so it was a little bit different for me, and it definitely took some getting used to. But you guys let me know what you think of this one in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. I really do hope that this video was relaxing and something that you could just chill and vibe out to. That was definitely the vibe I was going for. So yeah, I just really hope that you guys enjoyed this one. But that is all that I have for you guys today. As always, I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and I will see you guys in the next one.